Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I'm going to be totally honest. I always am. I have no idea what she was doing when she did a session with me. And it promotes healing, clarity, makes you feel better. If you're dealing from stuff, whatever it might be, but whether it's anxiety, whether you're trying to, get rid of a relationship, whatever it is, it can help you. Emotion code is what I'm talking about. And she does that. She's also certified in that as well. And does so much more to help people heal. She does energy healing. She's an intuitive. She's a physical therapist. And I'm going to learn what the heck she was doing the other day. I don't know. Mila Velazquez is with us. Welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. I'm wonderful. How are you, Steve?
Good, good. So we did a virtual, and you asked me if you could connect with my energy, which I allowed. And from there, you started asking questions. And I'm not even sure, like you were saying, certain number, is it to the left column, the right column? I didn't see any column. I was just sitting here like this, just watching you go. But the end result is feeling better. Again, more clarity, just like a load lifted off your shoulders. Best ways I can describe it. So this is emotion code. What were you doing? How do you explain it to people?
So basically, with your permission, I tapped into your subconscious and I asked what energies that need to be released for your highest and greatest good, things that you're, having an issue with in your life. And so, I go and I am guided by you. So I ask, what is the underlying trapped emotion that's giving you an issue? And your body talks to me, and I'm like a detective. I'm asking yes and no questions, and this is how I follow the lead. So if I ask, where is the trapped emotion? What does it deal with? Is it in one of your systems? Is it in your organ? Is it emotionally, mentally? Is it with the situation? When I hit upon something, I then ask, what is the underlying trapped emotion? And I use a chart because we have so many emotions. And what we do is I have rows and I have columns. And I ask your body which row and which column, and I allow it to lead me to what emotion needs to be released.
When you say the column, is it committed to your memory because you've been doing this for quite some time?
Yeah, so sometimes it's committed to my memory, and sometimes I'm human and sometimes I forget. So I do have a chart that's available if I need to take a look and see because there are so many emotions. There's probably 60 of them. So it goes by 5. And so I asked, is it in the right, is in column A or column B? Is it in, odd or even? And that's how I just kind of get down to where it is. And your subconscious talks to me, and I just go with what you tell me.
Wow.
Really.
It sounds like it's almost, to give an analogy, I'm giving you a shopping list and you're going shopping. And you're not sure, I'm going to the produce, I'm going into the meat aisle, whatever it might be. Interesting. What I found fascinating was I didn't give you any information.
Correct.
I didn't say anything. I'm just sitting
Correct.
here, and maybe you asked me a question or two, very basic questions, but you were able to kind of home in on a situation, and even relationship related would kind of explain what you're getting. Like I have a heart wall, very high one apparently, that was up, from past relationships, and as I understand it from you, it could go back decades. So
Yes.
stuff that was never energetically resolved, and it's holding me back apparently, and it could be doing. We probably all have heart walls, right?
Well, yeah, if we live life and had any kind of painful, intense situation that hurt us, sure, we create a shield around our hearts. And, our subconscious knows absolutely everything. It knows everything from even before we were born to the time we were in our mother's womb, to the time we were born, so forth and so on. And that subconscious is what I'm really talking to. And I ask, where is the issue? Where is the underlying stress that was never truly resolved? And the energy came in like a hot ball of fire, and it attached somewhere, and it's still sitting there vibrating at a different vibration and frequency as your own body, destroying your body, causing issues in your life. And my goal is to identify it, release it, so that you can, feel calm, cool, collective, and happy again.
Interesting. I've never heard it put that way. So it's clear to understand. Again, we're all energy. We all have a vibration. So let's say your body, the core of you is vibrating at a certain frequency. This stuff that's in there is another frequency. So it's almost like an intruder in your body.
Right, exactly. It's negative energy. So basically, emotions and thoughts are energies. And when you feel an intense, painful emotion, that is an energy that comes in. So for example, if you get an energy of worry, it comes in, and every time something happens, your brain says, I know this worry, and it starts to vibrate, and you have a reaction to the worry, right? We all know what worry feels like. And every emotion has a different frequency. So we have emotion, let's say, of shame. It's one of the very low vibrating frequencies. So anybody that we know that truly feels shameful about something, they're not doing so well. They're not happy people. They're suffering, they're troubled. And so it's important to release some of these trapped emotions that sit there so that we can kind of go forward in our life, be happy, be healthy.
Wow. I would have to believe that anything that's vibrating lower than your frequency, we all have our own frequency.
Correct.
But anything that's vibrating lower than the overall frequency of somebody is just bad energy.
Well, yeah, I mean, the higher we vibrate, the happier we are. The lower we vibrate, the more we're in fear, the more we're in worry, the more issues we have mentally, emotionally, physically. So this is why it's so important to raise your vibration and vibrate at a higher vibration so that you get to that state of bliss, really. That's where we want to be. That's what our goal is.
So when you hear about chakra balancing, and there's 7 major chakras in your body that hold energy. There's one here, one here, one here, and onward. Is the emotion code connecting with your chakras, but going deeper than that?
If the emotions are located inside the chakras, yes. Chakras are responsible for our mental, emotional, and physical function as well. I don't so much look inside which chakra is closed. I look to see where is there a blockage of energy, and what do I need to identify and release to get the energy to flow. And once the energy is flowing and the emotion leaves, then you're able to really deal with certain issues that you had before. Sometimes the issue completely goes away, or sometimes you just have, a little bit of a easy feeling from it. For example, if you have fibromyalgia that you've had for 40 years, well, we can maybe get some of the symptoms to go away if we can release some of that energy. We might not completely get it to go away, but if we can ease the symptoms, that's already, better than living with chronic pain all the time.
Well, while we're talking about symptoms and chronic pain, disease, and all of that, the bad energy, if you will, is manifesting and can turn into disease, right?
Well, sure. I mean, when you have an energy that sits there and vibrates at a different frequency than in your own body, it will tear away at your tissues. It will cause issues in your immune system and issues in your nervous system. And we know that, we know that fibromyalgia, for example, going back to it again, is there's no test for it. There's no MRI, there's no x-ray, there's no blood work. It's all the nervous system. Why? Because somewhere there's a glitch in the nervous system from stress. And the nervous system goes off and you'll get a plethora of symptoms pain, numbness, fatigue, chronic fog, brain fog. And there's nothing that the scientists or our scientific community can use as a test to even see what it is. But I know that if I can release some of that energy from that client or from that patient that has that fibromyalgia and calm the nervous system down, the pain goes away. The brain fog gets better. They get more energy. And that's just the bottom line. That's just how it works. It's energetic. It's looking at our bodies as an energetic body and realizing that our bodies are not just, physical, that we have a whole energetic body as well.
I want you to be honest. After tapping into my energy, seeing what's going on there, would you say, compared to other people that you've worked with, when you saw my energy, was it more of a, whoa, dude's got a lot going on in there? Or was, kind of average, less than others have? Just kind of curious.
The more you live and the more that you experience life, the more emotional baggage you have.
Sure.
So, someone who is in their 20s, it's much easier to go through because they're not in their 50s, right? If you lived life and you've had, let's say 2 husbands and 3 children, and things are, maybe not 100%, there's more emotional baggage that needs to be cleared. So I don't like to say, and even though some children I can work with 3 times and they're great, and some children have had so much unfortunate trauma and abuse that it takes me longer to clear out all of that emotional baggage to get them balanced and grounded and flowing again. So it all depends on, your life experiences.
I get that. So somebody, roughly around my age, would you say I'm kind of average, or there's a little more going on there? Just, I'm curious.
Well, you know what? You have some junk in your trunk because you've had experience,
Sure.
and
Sure.
you're a sensitive man and you pick up other people's garbage. And so that bothers you, as well. And even when I talk about it, look at your body, your body language shows me everything. And that's the truth. You're not the type of guy that is so much for yourself. You're the type of guy that sees somebody else who's suffering, and you take those emotions and you absorb them, you suck them right into you. And that bothers you the most. And that causes an issue for you. So when you're watching your loved one suffering, that's a real big problem for you. So do you have a lot of, junk in your trunk? No, but you've lived life and you've had happy moments, and you've also had some very intense, painful moments. I think it's important for us to be able to release those painful moments so that we can go forward. Like I say, just because you've been married twice or 3 times doesn't mean that you can't find love again in your life.
Sure.
If you're able to release and forgive and go forward, you have a chance of finding, more love in your life and trying it again. And every relationship teaches you a lesson, really,
Sure. It's interesting and sometimes scary knowing that stuff you dealt with even decades ago, if you're older, maybe, well, even if you're in your 20s, you could have dealt with something when you're 5 years old. Right. And it might not have been what we would perceive to be a major trauma, but to a 5-year-old, somebody says something in the other room, you hear it, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's for me. Whoa, might not even been directed to you as a 5-year-old. But that stuff that's potentially decades old, is still floating around.
Absolutely. It's like children, if you watch it, they're like sponges. They can be playing, with their dolls or with their trucks, but they're listening to what grandma and grandpa are saying. They're listening to their parents. So if the parents are at each other's throats and they're fighting, just because this child is maybe, a few feet away playing and not paying attention, all that energy is still coming in and they're still absorbing it. And it sits there for life for them until they're able to release it.
How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know that you've released it? Now, you did a follow-up session with me and dumped some junk. How how do you know that you've gotten it all, or you can feel it?
So
You can feel it.
I can feel it. I can sense it. But what I do is I go and I ask, we start with what is the percentage of how much junk do you have in your trunk?
Oh.
And then I release it and I ask, have I released it 100%? And when I get a yes, so it is measurable. When I started with your heart wall, I said, how long is the heart wall? And you gave me like some crazy number of 5 feet. And as I kept on going, the number was getting smaller and smaller and smaller until I got to 0. So it is measurable. I always ask, where are we starting and how much do we then go to get it at 0? Yeah.
Does it take a number of times to eradicate all of this? Number of different sessions?
It depends on your body. So I always ask, are you ready to release? When the body is ready to release, it will release as many emotions as it can. When it tells me it's not going to, the body doesn't. Don't forget, your subconscious is your gatekeeper. Nothing is going to come out that's not ready to come out. So sometimes you will release 5 emotions and your body says, I can't handle anymore. I need to process all of that. Or your body will dump out like 15 emotions and it'll be fine and says, okay, now I need to process, let's say 10 days or 3 days. And that's what we go. Whatever your body says is what I go with.
As an intuitive and learning the emotion code, Mila, do you get a picture? And now, do you get a picture when you work with somebody and you're clearing out their energy? Are you kind of seeing what's going on there? I mean, of course, you see the columns in your mind, or that one goes into column B. Okay, is it to the left as you identify what it is? But have you developed that? I don't know, that visual
Intuition. So it's using your intuition, and I am not so much clairvoyant in being able to see it. I am more claircognizant and clairsentient, which means that I know it. I don't know why I know, how I know, for what reason I know, but I know the information comes to me. So I know which questions to ask. I know where to probe. I know where to dig like a detective to get to the underlying root cause of an issue to release that energy. I also have a feeling. I feel it. And sometimes when I release or get to an emotion, I already know what the emotion is before I test you. I still test you because I don't want my ego to get in the way, but I already have that knowing which emotion it is. And sometimes I'll get a goosebump because I can already know what the trauma was that happened, to this person. And that kind of helps lead me forward. And anybody who's really doing energy work, we're all intuitive. It's just to, the degree of our intuition that we use. Yeah.
We have a few minutes left, and I don't know if this is even possible, but I find it fascinating when you're going through the steps, even in like a 3-minute sample. Is it possible for you to do it? I would give you permission to do it for me in just 3 minutes, just to show people how you figure it out.
Sure. You want me? Okay. So the first thing that you have to do, I'm just going to look over here, and what I'm looking at is I'm looking for my list of emotions, just in case if I get stomped here.
Yeah, so, and I know we're kind of like fast tracking here, so I get it.
Right. So basically what would happen is you would give me permission to work on you, and I would test your nervous system on my nervous system using my hands, right? So do you give me permission to work on you?
I do.
Okay. So I'm going to work on behalf of Steve, and we're going to clear some of the issues that he should have. So I would going to ask you, do you have some issues that you would like me to clear for you today? Or do you want me to find what needs to be cleared next? I'll give you that choice.
We all have issues. Yes and yes.
Okay. So I'm going to work on behalf of you. I'm going to be Steve. My name is Steve Harper, and I stay strong. My name is Mila, and my fingers go weak. Okay. So Do you have a trapped emotion that needs to be released today? Is it mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually? Is it one of your systems? Is it regarding yourself? Is it regarding someone else in your life? It is somebody else in your life because you stayed strong for me. Is it one of your family members? And that is a yes. Is it your one? Is it a loved one? It is. Is it one of your children? Is it a female? It's a female. You stayed strong. Is it a male? You went weak. You're having an issue with one of your loved ones that's a female. Is that true, Steve? I'm talking to you cognitively. Is that I am asking for confirmation? Is that an issue for you? I'm talking to you, Steve.
Okay. I'm just confirming. I don't want to give you anything.
No, don't give me. I'm confirming. I am asking you, are you having an issue in your life right now with a female?
Yes.
I'm getting a yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm on the right. So do you have a trapped emotion with a female? I'm going to tell you exactly who it is. Is it one of your daughters? Yes. Give me a daughter's name, sir.
Do you really want me to? I
Yeah.
prefer not to.
Oh, you prefer not to. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it the daughter that, sorry about that. Is it the daughter that I'm thinking of? And that's a yes. Okay. So
I'm perfectly transparent and fine with all of this, and I want you to keep going. We're going to run out of time, but I wanted people, and everything you're saying is accurate.
yes.
And
this is going to be personal, so I don't know if you want to.
And it's not even totally about that, but what it is about is I don't want to run out of time, and I wanted people to get a feel for how you're doing it. We don't see your hands. You're doing the muscle testing.
I am using my hands, right? I am using the ring and ring. So when I go weak, this is weak. This is strong for me. So when I ask the question, is it a female in your life? I stay strong. The next question I ask is it somebody that you love? I stay strong. Then I would ask, what's the trapped emotion? And I would go through my column. So I would ask, is it in column A, B?
And I could do the same thing if I was open to the way it works in terms of doing that. Like I could say to myself, okay, Steve, what's going on? Do you have a challenge with a loved one? Yes. Do you have a challenge with pizza? No. And I can actually feel my fingers slipping.
Yes. And you could do it multiple ways. You could do the sway test standing up. You could use your fingers. You could use any muscle in your body because you're talking to your subconscious, and your subconscious is hooked up to your muscles, your nervous system.
I've tried the sway test. I don't find it works well for me. This actually works better, And again, if you can break the chain easily, it means it's a false statement, not true.
Correct.
We're out of time. Fascinating. We did a full session, actually 2. I feel better. Again, I feel lighter, more clarity. I feel like I purged, and I didn't even do a thing. I just answered 5 questions in, an hour, 45 minutes. You did all the work, but what you just did was kind of basically the work as you whittled your way down to figuring out what's going on and then figuring out how to get rid of it. How do we find you? Let's figure that out.
You can iwhealing.com or innerwisdomenergy@gmail.com. My phone number is 732-515-3393.
I put you in the amazing column.
Thanks.
I've heard about the emotion code, energy healing for sure, but I've never really experienced the emotion code. Not that I doubted it for a second, but you make it very clear, and the stuff works, and it's amazing. It's how you can tap into somebody else's energy over, miles away, hundreds to thousands of miles away.
It could be anywhere, right?
You could be anywhere. Yeah, you can do it virtually. And that's actually the first time we did it was virtually. The second time we did it was over the phone. Just amazing. Mila, you are. And
thank you.
The stuff works. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Steve, for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Same. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.